found the notes, not your homework, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, what homework questions do you guys have? 31 and 39.
22. 38.
32, sorry. 36? Just 6, okay. We didn't do number 6. So, no wonder you got the homework from yesterday. Let's,
Did I get credit for my homework?
yes,
13.
13.
38.
Go back less.
24.
Are we missing anything? 10. We're good on 10.
I got that wrong. I'll never finish, so.
I'm assuming 39 is the 29.
Hey, that's negative energy.
Okay.
Come on now.
So guys, that's fine. We can go through a bunch of this. Now, if you guys are good on that, if you guys just want to sit tight with us, please, we will have time to work on we are going to get more practice tonight because I want to make sure you guys are feeling okay with things. But we will also do maybe some whiteboards today just to practice more of this. And we have to finish the notes from last time with the graph paper. So, we haven't done whiteboards for
You know that whiteboards are, you use whiteboard markers with them? Bless you. You know if you write the date and you put 20, you can easily fix it with just putting a 21 right after?
I mentioned that yesterday.
There's no way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal it.
Plagiarism.
Plagiarized.
I don't think it was 39 one of them. Yeah. Are you sure?
38 and 40.
So 29 was okay? Yeah. I saw there was a 39 and a synthetic. Alright. Alright.
No, she's gonna throw it.
Okay. So, okay guys, so remember that when we have these questions, and I have the test written, and I wrote the test up this way where I ask you guys for the vertical asymptote, the horizontal asymptote, an x-intercept, and a y-intercept. And I asked for them in that order, so hopefully that helps if you're like an order person, if that's helpful too. So the vertical asymptote is when we set the bottom equal to 0. So we set each of these equal to 0. So x ends up being -1 and x ends up being 3. Those are our two asymptotes, which means we actually have like 3 parts of this graph. I'm going to pull up my graph paper here.
Doing it right now?
Alright. So -1 and 3, I have to put asymptotes there. So -1 and then at 3. That's kind of dividing lines. The horizontal asymptote comes from the idea that we look at the exponents on the variables. So up here there's no x at all. Down here there's x to the second. So that means the bottom is bigger than the top. So that automatically tells us that we have an asymptote at y equals 0. So when the bottom exponent is bigger than the top, then it's just y equals 0. So I just have one across here. So what I want to do then is I want to figure out where my graph shows up in all these parts, but the intercepts kind of help with that as well. So the x-intercept is where y equals 0. So So that means the top equals 0, because, so that would be 5 equals 0. So that doesn't make sense. So that means there's no x-intercept. And that makes sense in this problem because it shouldn't touch that x-axis. I won't give you any of the do any of the weird crossing. Then the y-intercept is where x is 0, so I'm going to put 0 in. So this ends up being 1 and negative 3. 1 times negative 3 is just negative 3, so it's like a negative 1 point something, 1.5 or so. So negative 1.5-ish. Or 1, yeah. So if I'm going this way, I go towards that, and then I'm going to reverse and go back this way. Now, if you want to know what's happening on the other side, you can go look, and you can try, yes, go ahead.
It's plus 1 and minus 3, isn't it?
But when you multiply positive 1 and negative, no, it's okay. It's okay. And I, like, honestly, you guys, there's times that when I'm doing these as well, I have to, like, do it twice. Like, I'm like, that doesn't sound right, or that's not where I'm expecting it to be, and I double check it, and just the easiest little mistake will put it in the wrong part, like a positive, and you're up here, and now your graph looks totally different. So that is definitely a tough part of this. So what we want to do then is we want to check a point, so we know what's going on in the middle. We want to check something on either side. So I'm going to check, like, x is like negative 3 over here, and like x is 4 over here or something. So I'm going to check those. So I just have to pick another point in like each section. So if I pick x is 4, it means I'm going to put 4 into this equation. 5 over 4 plus 1, and then 4 minus 3. So it's going to end up being 5 over 5. So me y is 1. So 4, 1 is this point. So then I have that graph going there for sure. Then I can check like negative 2. Put negative 2 in. 5 over negative 2 plus 1. And then negative 2 minus 3. This is a negative 1 and negative 5. It becomes a positive 5, so it's 5 over 5. So y is also 1. So then it's over here as well. So it's the sad face for Kinsey. Right? So those are our different types of graphs. And so again, I don't need them to be perfect. I don't need the, like you might say, I looked this up and it didn't actually do that. Like it was kind of a little wonkier in the middle. That's okay, this is just a sketch. It does not have to be like perfect in the way that, long as you're in the right section and you have the right shape going, like if your graph is doing something that doesn't look anything like this, then we need to figure it out. All right, so let's go to we're going through a lot of the homework and that's fine. I want to make sure you guys are feeling ready, so let's go through 22. Once we do that, then once we go through all of these, we'll go back to the notes. At some point, I don't know if we'll do that first or later, but then we'll also do whiteboards too, just to practice this a little bit more, and that way I can kind of help you guys troubleshoot if needed. Division. So right away I want to switch it to multiplication. So that means I switch the second fraction. Now this is factorable. That's a difference of squares. So they're both perfect squares, and it's subtraction. So it's a times a, b times b, and then plus and minus. On the top and bottom, they can cancel. And then looking at the 36b to the second over 6b, I hope you can kind of think through that. 36 and 6 is going to be 6 and 1. And then b squared and b, there's more b's on the top. So there'll be a single b on top between those. The a minus b will be left on top, and then there's nothing on the bottom, or you can just leave it as this. So you can include the 1 or not. So being able to factor those always, remember, always look to see if you guys can factor it all. So 24 is another division problem. Okay. So it's division, so we're going to flip it and multiply. And then we can do some factoring as well. So I might factor and kind of flip it and multiply as I go here. Oh gosh, I didn't want to do that.
Dotted.
Dotted lines. So this is y times y to get y squared. I want to multiply to negative 12, add to negative 1. So this will be negative 4 and a positive 3. So that becomes this new fraction. I'm going to flip this one over right away, so hopefully that's okay, just to save a little bit of space here. So that means I'm going to put the y squared minus 4y minus 12 on top. I'm going to multiply to get negative 12 and add to get negative 4. So that's a negative 6 and positive 2. So now there's a bunch of canceling or some canceling I can do. So the y plus 2's cancel, and the y minus 4's cancel. So I'm left with y plus 3, and then y minus 6. And then you just leave it that way. You don't need to FOIL or anything like that. Nothing else will cancel, so that's fine that way. Sorry, we're on to 31. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So 31 is addition. Okay. So when you're adding and subtracting, you need common denominators. This should be addition, not subtraction. We need common denominators. In order to find common denominators, factoring is probably the first most important step. So I'm going to factor each of these. So this one, again, difference of squares. Hopefully you're starting to notice that more often. And then this one, we can take out a GCF, take out a 5. Oops, I'm missing a 1 there. Hopefully now it's a little more obvious what they're missing. So we look at the bottoms. So this one has an x plus 1 as this one does as well. So this one doesn't have a 5, so I have to multiply the top by 5 as well. This one's missing the x minus 1, so I have to do the same thing on the top up here. So what I'm left with, I'm going to distribute up here. So 5x minus 5, and then 2x minus 2, all over this crazy bottom. But then I have some like terms to put together. So this will be 7x, and then this will be minus 7. But I'm not done here. So if you stopped here, I totally get it because we're so used to being done here. But this top can actually be factored. I can take out a 7. So I can cancel those x minus 1s now. So I'm left with 7 on top and 5 on the bottom and x plus 1. So if you stopped before you factored again, totally understandable. But just like the one extra step you forgot about. Alright, so I think we're going to 38. fractions. So I'm going to multiply by a common denominator. So between 4, 4, and 6, the common denominator is 12 that they can all become. So I'm going to multiply each of these by 12. And so this will simplify to be 12 over 4, which is just 3. And then it's not a fraction anymore. This will simplify to just be 3, so it'll be 3 times 9. And then this will simplify to just be 2. So I'm getting rid of all the fractions by multiplying by that common denominator. So I end up with 9x plus 6 is 27. And then this is negative 6 plus 4x. So I can put those together. I'm going to bring the 4x over. Bless you. 5x equals at 15, and so then x ends up being 3. But don't forget with these fractions, when we solve them, you just want to double check that this doesn't make any of the denominators equal 0, and it doesn't. So x equals 3 is fine for this one. All right, 39. So this one's just a fraction equals a fraction, so we can cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 2 times r squared minus 1, and then 1 times r squared plus r minus 2. So in order to solve this, it's a quadratic, so I'm going to move everything over to one side. Move the r squared over, get 1r squared minus 2 equals r minus 2. Move this 2 over, those cancel. So I need to bring the r over. No, it's pretty small here. Okay, so at this point, in order to solve this, I'm going to factor out an r. And I'm going to set each of these factors equal to 0. So I have r equals 0 and r minus 1 equals 0. So I find out r is 1 and also r is 0. But I have to check my answers. So if I go to put the 0 back in, 0 squared minus 1 is just negative 1. That's fine. 0 is fine there as well because it doesn't make either of the denominators equal 0. However, if I put 1 back in here, 1 squared is 1, minus 1 is 0. So this answer actually ends up being extraneous. It's an extra answer that doesn't really work there. So just 0 ends up being my only answer. And then finally, number 40. This one's tough because there's 3 or 4 or 3 not fractions and then 1 whole number, so that probably might have thrown you off a little bit. Okay. So in order to do this, again, we want to get rid of the common denominators, but we might have to do some factoring first to figure out what they are. So this is x plus 1, x minus 1. And then that's 2 times x minus 1. So if I want to get rid of all the fractions, I have to multiply by that common denominator. So it's these 2 along with that 2. But here's probably one of the spots you might have caused an issue. You have to make that a fraction as well. So you have to multiply to every term, not just the fractions. So I'm going to multiply 2x plus 1, x minus 1 to each of these factors. For each of those terms. Not the prettiest step here. Okay. So at this point now I can cancel those. So I'm left with 2 times x. Here I can cancel those two. So I'm left with 2 times 2, which is 4, and x minus 1. This one, anything times all that, I have to include all of that. And then here, those two just cancel, so I'm left with 2 times 2, which is 4, and then okay. So now I have a bunch of stuff to work on here. So I have 4x minus 4 here. I know this is difference of squares, so I'm just going to rewrite it this way. I have to distribute that in. So this is 6x minus 4. And so we're going to move everything over there. So we have 2x squared. This is a negative 2x. That's 8 minus 2 is 6. And I can factor out a 2 out of all those. Really? And then, is that not factorable now? Oh, I thought it means, what's it? You don't, that doesn't give us the right answer. I did something wrong. Oh, sad.
Did you not cancel the 2s?
I never canceled out the 2's. Shoot.
I was gonna say something, but then I thought I did it wrong.
No, you're right. So I think that changes this, so sorry. Yeah, so there's a mistake there on my part, sorry. But hopefully the gist of it is there. I should have canceled the 2's as well. Thank you. Oh well. All right. So, do you guys want to do whiteboards now and come back to notes? Let's do that. So why don't you guys get up and grab whiteboards, please?
I'm just asking. Yeah, if you bring Kenzie, might as well just go.
Julia said we could.
Did she actually?
Yeah.
I asked her.
Actually, she told me not to say that because she didn't get mad.
There's no way she's gonna take both of you guys.
I'll just ask her. Just be like, are you down with breaker restrictions?
You just stopped her and didn't say hi.
I'll put you on hold.
Yeah, ready?
Oh, Mom and I were walking. Hey, Kate, just like.
That's your dad.
Bring me, make it.
Hey, I think I want to pick for myself and then I have to breakfast.
I was just saying that to pull your leg.
Okay, so guys, try to get something out of this to make sure you guys are understanding. So it means you finish yours, and then somebody's struggling, feel free to help each other, but at the same time, just like copying on somebody else's answer obviously isn't a good use of your time at this point. So we're just doing some practice problems similar to the test questions. So that way I can kind of help, but I'd be glad to help you guys troubleshoot if you're struggling at all. So let's start.
Where's the paper?
Yeah, we're waiting for your phone. That's fine.
And shopping.
I'm not getting up now.
Where we eating breakfast?
I'll tell you.
I already asked.
How are we gonna get there? You can walk.
He's coming too. He's a rock.
Yeah, I know
Home
where
girl.
it's even going.
Girl.
Yes, he is.
I'm home girl.
Kinsey invited me. Yeah, I invited, and I
Garrett
invited them.
protects me. I definitely pick Garrett to protect me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Garrett's thinking, yo, Garrett.
Actually,
so this is multiplying, so it's telling you to simplify.
Where's my body, Garrett? Dude, Garrett for jazz. Yeah, come on,
Jesus.
Yeah, do you see which one's on top here?
Yeah.
So hot water.
Oh my gosh, the air coming out of this vent is so cold.
Yes. She said it. Can you troubleshoot me?
I'd suggest factoring first if you haven't already. Try doing some factoring. So all 4 parts can be factored. So every single part of it.
Put it in the fractions.
Yeah, so like you'll take out like a 2 and like put that on the outside of the parentheses. So 2 parentheses.
Wait, then I can get rid of this. That is good. That just.
Maddie, check your lower left factoring again. Stop. The lower left. Look at what they have up there. I just got
Oh, that was good. I was a little.
Oh, you don't need to distribute. You can just leave it. That's fine. You can leave it distributed or I think you factored that one wrong. Wait,
Wait.
not that one.
Nick,
This one?
where are we going shopping?
This should be 3.
Okay.
Right?
Are you actually okay with me?
Yeah, you're good.
What?
Yeah, good job. Yeah,
She
good
said
job.
if you say it's okay, then
Oh gosh, that's
Already asked. I'm a little confused.
Are you being a third wheel?
See?
No, I was asking.
Yes,
So
I.
all 4 of those can be
You
factored.
know,
You want to factor it first so you can do
I
it again.
got this.
So all 4 can be factored.
she said it was
Mine's right.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your
So
left
factor
part,
right
so
first.
like,
Yeah.
only thing is
Okay,
I'm
now
not
do the bottom side.
like this one, I read it as 3
Yep.
x plus 1, and then this one's 2 x
So that's the
plus
one where you do
1.
The
Multiply
multiply,
to 6, add to 5.
These will cancel.
1 and
But you
6.
can't cancel them anyway.
6
But,
or
so then right what's
positive
left, so
5
you're left
negative
with
1.
2 and that.
Well, it's a positive 6, so 3 and 2 are factors of 6.
Yeah, the only thing is just put it together, so like, you can leave it, I'm gonna put it, make it 1 fractions like that.
Put the one, wait, actually, that factor
Yeah,
on
that's
this
done.
side, do the top,
Oh,
multiply
still get,
the
yes, you're good, Maddie.
Trash is trash.
Boom.
It's just like this one, where you can take out the. Alright, now cancel what?
Oh, this thing.
Not that one.
X minus 1.
Okay, and then bottom.
Oh, wait, yeah. Alright, now you just,
You guys make it.
online can see it. Now I feel hot coming out of the vents.
It's 3 and 2, isn't it?
So I factor this.
Oh.
So this is 3 and 2. This one is a positive 3 and negative 1, because I'll multiply to give me negative 3, but add to give me 2. And then I can take out a 3 out of those. Then we look to see what we can cancel. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And I'm left with the 2 on top and the x minus 1. Now if you wanted to FOIL that, you could, or distribute that. You don't need to. And then the bottom, I'm left with 3 times x plus 2. Okay?
So Lego people live in a house of their own flesh.
What?
That's what the word says.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
I love Fortnite. Bullseye got us a drone.
I don't ever want.
Like, I have no money yet.
I wrote down something naughty on my
So gross.
Oh, Mrs. Donahue, Mr. Donahue told us a story about how you saved his life today.
Oh, yeah, he likes
It's
that
like,
story.
if you don't want me to be here, then you can leave.
And
That's
then
his,
he's
like-
you gotta drink water or else you're gonna have bad life.
Like,
Yeah. Part of
It looks like it's hot.
Well, you're gonna have a bad life then.
I
if
water
we're
is
outside.
literally my favorite. It's so good.
so you have like,
I'm trying to drink 2 of these a day.
I tried getting a bigger water bottle and it still didn't work. Because I hate refilling stuff. Yeah.
I'm at about like, I think like 1.5
$100
every day.
so you have
And then I cry it all out at night.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I need to
I've cried every single day of 2021 so far. And it's all the same reason.
But I cannot drink it.
Okay, guys, so careful. You guys, this one's division, so don't forget you need to flip it.
Flip that, girl. That's not what I meant. Gosh darn. Can't say anything in this class.
I just find it funny.
We figured out and make people What? Me and Josie figured out in AP Lang that 45% of our grade had their first kiss.
How did you figure that out?
There's like a class of 22. It's a
Yes.
Schoology group, and then we like wrote down on paper who we think.
Oh,
Not the
weird.
names.
Was
just
the eye
like-
on there? I just want to know.
I don't know.
Oh.
Did you?
I really don't.
I mean, yeah, but like,
Oh, you
was I
did?
on
With
there?
who? Oh
Was I on there?
no. Might be more. We kind of guessed on some people.
What? With who? It's not hard.
So you can simplify a little bit more. You're super close.
Sam?
No. Hang on 1 second.
That one guy from.
Yeah.
What was his name? Like Sebastian or something?
What's up?
Yeah. I think he you could
What was
Yeah,
his
you can
name?
take out a
Sebastian?
GCM. There's something common in
I knew it was something with like the Little Mermaid.
I don't
Yeah.
recommend. I don't.
Yeah, that looks good. Only thing is, you're close, but that can be simplified. Because something else.
Bang, bang, bang. That's money. Money. Easy.
So you flip this. This one gets flipped.
Well, you're multiplying across the top, cross multiply. So cross multiply. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
this is called the reciprocal.
So like,
No.
when you factor out that six, you would take the outside. So I would actually take a 6x out here. And you can put it on the outside of parentheses. So you have on the left is good, except you can simplify further.
This?
Yeah, but careful, you're putting stuff on top that should be on top. Think about what should still be on the bottom. So Maddie And then this can be factored into the squares, the two sets of parentheses. They're both perfect squares. What thing?
Did I write this down? I wrote this down.
No, difference of squares. So where since that's why you're gonna drop out. So multiply to give you this, multiply to give you that, and then from the line from you can't say you. So
I literally did, and it just.
yeah, you guys are good now.
What is x squared plus?
Yeah, man.
I think we just lost the X, so it's just a little after the parentheses, right? So just like put it up there. Yeah, that's good.
Did I do it
Good.
right?
How we doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Two, I think. Two. Then when you have that, then there's some stuff that can cancel. The only thing is 12 over 6 can simplify.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm like,
Is this right?
So take out a 6x. So out of that, you can take out a 6x. And then you divide that by 6x, so that's just the x. You divide this by 6x, that's just 2. Yeah. Yeah, that looks fine. Close. The only thing is, these can all be divided by 6. So do that and then you're done. There you go. Yes, good job. Yes, good job.
The class of 22 Schoology group though, instead of Catherine, it has Lizzie in it.
I invited you, you're not
It
going,
has
you're
Jen.
not going.
And then you're done.
That's
So divide it by
It's not your turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work up here just for those people online.
I figured out why I didn't have to.
Okay, guys. Oh, that's, actually, I know some of you guys are still working in here. Shh, guys, quiet, please. So this difference of squares, this x squared minus 9, remember, it's difference of squares because they're both perfect squares, so x times x. 9 is 3 times 3, and then we get that middle term to cancel, and we just do a positive and negative. Then this one should be flipped. So I'm going to put the 4 on the outside, and then x plus 3. This one I can take out a 6x. At this point, there's going to be a whole bunch of canceling I can do. So any kind of canceling I can do that I can cross cancel, you want to do that. So at this point, I'm going to cancel x plus 2's, and then also the x plus 3's. And I'll be left with 3 times 4 on top, which is 12. And then 6x on the bottom, and then x minus 3. And a lot of you guys got to this point, and then I said, oh, we still need to do something else. So each of these can be divided by 6. The 12 and 6. So it becomes 2 over x times x minus 3. If you want to distribute that in, you can, but you don't have to. So that's it. So that was multiplying and dividing. I'm going to move on to addition and subtraction. But know with multiplying and dividing, that is something that we are going to practice a little bit more tonight. So,
Wow, here's my glasses.
That's the next number.
well, first it was
Isn't it true you had a water bird?
There's no pattern.
me?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
My mom wanted to with me, but then she didn't.
Sorry people, my first birth with Peyton was awful because he was giant and I'm not a huge person. And then I had a C-section with Griff because the first one was so bad.
Oh yeah, Mr. Donica told us all
Oh
about
yeah. I used to have kids that came to my class afterwards and be like, we heard all about it,
Yeah.
Mrs. Donahue, because it was.
it. It was a little too much.
Yeah, sorry. I know you probably know way too much about.
It's not your fault.
It's Mr. Donahue told you
He-
everything about her birth.
Everything.
Yeah, he finds it he found it horrifying and very interesting all at the same time.
He's like taking notes about ways to teach his health class.
No, like he drew pictures on the whiteboard and everything.
Yeah, send it to somebody. Yeah.
Some people eat it.
Some people eat it.
Some people put it in smoothie.
Or some people like bury it because they feel like it's
Some
like.
people get theirs like twisted.
Can you just throw it away?
They, a lot of times the hospital just takes it away from you, like, which is fine.
The hospital.
I know, but like, it's not like when I bleed that I feel like I need to eat my blood. Like, I just, if you,
They should make it in vitamins.
Just stuff like.
I guess I didn't show you my nothing else.
But like.
Do you know that Kim and Kanye are getting into this?
Really?
Yeah.
Like.
You're gonna see it all over TikTok.
That's no video.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know how to figure it out.
What do we want to do? Oh,
You know how I got that? I just made it. Yeah, just like
Mine made sense, I just figured that out.
that's dumb. I
Multiply to 28 or add to 3. You multiply to 28 and add to 3. Frick is that?
Alright guys, so this one's asking us to add the fractions together. In order to add them, you're going to need a common denominator first.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to scroll.
And in order to get a common denominator, you probably have to factor first.
Shoot, I just factored in and erased it.
I'm going to factor in a second up here in case you're totally lost, or feel free to ask. I should probably check the, like, write the answer down. Don't forget, whatever you do at the bottom, you have to do the top. Did you give stuff to the top?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh, it's 7.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Gabby.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just had to say it.
Good work. Oh, you just need the denominator then.
Don't spoil
So you do need a denominator on that one. You're super close. I think you just must have added the later one. Multiply this by 2.
Oh, wait,
That's 8
It's
instead of.
2, and then boom. Watch this. Ready?
Oh, this should be a 4,
X was 4.
right? Yeah.
Oh, I did the factor wrong. Wait, do I can't? Oh, wait, no,
No, that should.
So now it's okay. Watch this.
Thanks, cancel it. Distribute that 7 in on the top. Distribute the 7 in. So you can't add those because we are like terms. So in there. So I would kind of erase it. I'm gonna erase the bottom. So this is 10 plus
Well, math. I see
7x.
Boom. That's it.
Combine the
Oh,
left.
wait. I go boom, boom. Watch this.
Okay. So it's now, since this has, it's missing the 2, right? 2. It's missing the 2. This one needs a 2, so the top needs a 2. So you're gonna multiply this one by 2.
70 over.
Right? Okay. And then this one was missing.
4x plus.
Boom. So this one has a 2 and an x minus 7. This one has a 2, x minus 7, x plus 4. Needs the x plus 4.
Do you have
That's what
7
you're
x
gonna do
plus
with the 7.
30?
Makes sense? Got it?
Oh,
Got it?
Okay, yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
What the heck? I was just trying that as well.
So okay, at this point, you're not far off here.
Oh,
This is 10, right? You can't cancel that because that's the denominator, you just put that one in. So distribute that 7 in and then combine the like terms on top.
so 7.
Yeah, is that an 8? Yes. Are you feeling like you were overpowered over there? Yeah.
Okay.
Are you doing? Okay, close. So it's just, you're going to.
Yeah, I know.
And then you can't cancel those because then you take your. Boom. And then you'll combine the like terms on top. So don't Sprinkly, you got it.
Summer's 50.
Well, I can tell they should.
Well,
I'm a Sunday, and I know that you're gonna have to. That's all the time.
That's also two.
All right.
Kenzie's gonna have a water.
I would think Mr. Donahue would be anti that. I think he'd be too nervous that, like, because, well, I guess you can do that at a hospital.
I don't
We're
know.
not having children.
Is there actually, you actually, yeah.
That's
There's
just
three
the-
does.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so, in this case, the common denominators is 2x minus 7x plus 4, and that comes from the fact that we factored these. And so this new fraction becomes 10 over this whole denominator. And I think the most common mistake was here, at this point, you guys, well, maybe I won't even do that. Here you guys were like, oh sweet, I can cancel those. No, you just gave that to those. It needs to be there. So instead we're going to distribute. So this is 7x plus 28 all over that same denominator. And now since the denominators are the same and we didn't cancel that, we can just add the tops. So 7x plus 38 over that whole crazy bottom. And I know you want things to cancel because it's nice when it does, but it's okay that it doesn't. I mean, sometimes it just is left kind of ugly. All right, are you feeling okay about the addition and subtraction? That went pretty well. Do you guys want another one of that?
Maybe.
One more. I'm seeing one. I'm seeing some fingers. Give me one. All right. Let's do one that doesn't have the factoring as much. The ones where you have to just talk about common
And I know
denominators.
she'll be the death of me.
Sorry, let me find a good one.
I think tonight when I go out to dinner with my dad, he's told me what I did wrong.
Oh, that's right.
I thought they were
No. What? I hung out with who?
Okay. So this has 3 fractions, and we need a common denominator
I didn't
still.
go to my grandma's house, so. Call me a liar?
I calling you a truther.
Oh, oh yikes.
What's the common denominator?
I probably shouldn't have picked 7.
Yeah, can you change
Change
it?
it to 6.
Should I change it to 6?
Yeah.
Okay, let's change it to, well,
Or
change
9.
it. I'm changing it.
Or no, you can't do that.
Change to 1 over 6. Is that okay? Does everyone have, I just changed the problem. Do this one instead. Sorry. It'll make it a little bit easier.
You have to be smart to figure it out.
She told me to worry
I'll be smart in the end.
about it.
For knowing
Can't feel my face without it. But I love you.
Did everyone see that we changed it?
Yeah.
Very close. Only thing is you can still simplify everything. Oh, and this should be a -4. Here, 1, -1. And then everything can be divided by something.
6 times.
No, you were doing it right. Oh, and then all of those can be divided by something. Okay, you're almost there. Oh, real quick. Yeah, because -1 minus 3 is a -4.
You were at the lunch table. You could have gone home.
Yeah, divided by all be divisible by the same number. Well, it'd be -1, -3, so it'd be -4, right? And -4. Yes. Yes.
Did I do it right? this anyway.
Would be better, cause I didn't,
Divided by the same number.
I don't,
Oh,
I mean, it's
so
cute, but
how-
like,
Yeah.
You wouldn't wear it normal?
no,
You guys
I'm,
should-
wait.
I feel like.
I know.
Yes, I got it. Yes.
I don't know.
Only thing is, okay, so -6, -18 is a negative, right? And there is a smaller denominator, but, hey guys, but they'll work. So you guys, the common denominator is 6a for all of these, for the lowest common denominator. Some of you guys had bigger numbers and that's fine, it works. So that means this one has to be multiplied by 2. This one has to be multiplied by 8. And this one has to be multiplied by 3a. The biggest mistake I saw is this 1a, -1a minus 3a should be a -4a, and those aren't like terms. We leave that common denominator. But now the top and bottom can both be divided by 2. And kind of the way I do that to show it is I factored a 2 out, but it's fine if you didn't. And then I do 6 over 2, which is 1 over 3. So I end up with 5 minus 2a all over 3a. Okay? So we're going to go to solving now. And then we'll do graphing together on our notes from yesterday. So,
She's saying to go. Yeah? She told me she would. What are you worried about? Why do you go burgers?
Alexa still
I
does
don't
her
trust-
A's like that?
Yeah, I don't like it when people write their A's like the circle and then the line.
Lola used to
I
do
don't
that
like
all the
it.
time.
Like when people go like
you
this.
guys feel strongly about things.
Yo, we're talking about like, where there's like the line out.
Did I win? Wait, let's see.
That's what, Lola used to do
She
that.
does with that.
Yeah.
I literally just now what?
Can you guys do what you're saying?
I can't feel nothing. With you. I don't even know why that song's in my head. I haven't heard it.
Yeah, it's starting to get stuck in my head, so you can stop singing.
Might as well ever change right there.
You should do it.
That's it.
Should I do that for my next like semester? Like that was so dumb.
You mean tomorrow?
Sorry, I'm trying to find a good one.
Tomorrow's our next class. You silly goose. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Do you yeah, and then
You must
You
go.
said, we'll race by tomorrow.
I miss Lolas. She walked past us. There you go. Oh shoot, I thought it was a common denominator for a second, but then I got.
Alright, I think.
Gosh darn it.
Yikes, this is a
She
tougher one
likes
than I thought.
Tristan.
So what should you be doing to solve here, guys? Cross multiply.
You heard me. Oh, thanks, Ron.
Did you just say what you said?
Okay. It works out okay. It's not that bad. If you cross multiply and then
Jill.
this one gives a foil on.
Oh.
What are you gonna do? I'm in my house and family?
I don't know what I did either. This is a good one.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
having a
This is a good one. You should have foiled here. So you put parentheses around that way.
Oh
Be
wait.
careful, that should have an X on that one.
Me and Gary are gonna do it together.
What the heck is this?
Oh. Oh wait.
Am I gonna need this in my adulthood?
No.
You need algebra 2 to go on to college.
True.
Yes, good job.
got the
Oh, you want to cancel on this one. You want to cross well, I guess you could. You
One.
want to cross multiply, but
outer,
maybe it works the way you're doing it.
so 10.
inner,
So you have to multiply by the common denominator.
10 and more.
Wow.
Cross multiply instead.
Are we like
So
solving?
you're doing a bunch of foiling here. So like you should be like
holy majikas.
instead of parentheses, like foil.
Are we supposed to like
X.
Well, look at Garrett. Holy cow. So then now you solve that. So yeah. And then set each of those
Boom!
to 0.
I figured it out.
Oh, good job.
Didn't
So
you and
X
Dylan
is
do it
equal
together?
something.
Negative one
We did it together, we did it together.
So
I don't did it
Because I'm
I got this.
That's 10%. You didn't even figure it out.
Yeah, good job. And now you should go chapters. Parentheses. Multiply to get that, the middle number. Alright, so now move this guy over here.
And then this equal to 0?
So this is gonna be 0. When you move this 2x over, you put it with that, so this should be 11x.
Oh, I did it wrong.
Here, Abby, I'll buy you over here.
Oh, yeah. Might be helpful. Oh,
Only thing is I think they should be opposite signs.
I'm
Because
surprised this is.
this 11, when you move it over, it should be a positive 11. It's negative here, so then you move it over, it's positive. And then it flips the sign.
If that was the whole test right there, I think that'd be
So, he foiled here.
I'm going online.
So, that will be positive.
We're gonna tell everyone.
So that makes it a positive 4, so that'll be a 9x there. And that'll be a positive 10.
Okay,
Yeah, now
we
we
need
need
to.
to distribute.
What? Did I get it right? Negative 10 or negative. Boom! That's right. All by myself. What the hell? What doing? What doing? Almost forgot about it. Stop.
I'm gonna start setting this up and then I'll come around and help a little bit.
Honestly, it's too easy.
as long as you choose this
Oh, get boom down.
Okay.
the only part I want to do is
X squared.
that's
Oh, I don't have -2.
So, guys, I moved everything over to one side. So I foiled and moved everything over to the one side. That's what I got. But if you're still working,
Multiply.
it's all these little things. It's a pretty long problem. I know, so. And then now you should be ready to factor that. So you should go factor that new equation. 3 multiplied to the 10, add the 11.
Yo, yo.
How you doing?
I got
Yeah,
it.
so now you're ready to factor.
So that's in parentheses.
Yeah, 2 sets of parentheses.
We're going to
Oh
get
my
to
God.
the meeting breakfast.
How we doing, everyone?
What? Do we set up meeting breakfast?
You want to
Did you say where we going?
Yeah, get 11 replaced for me.
Where are we going? I don't know.
Except 1 and 10.
Ask Julia.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're just going on Friday.
Should we go to McDonald's? They have breakfast.
And I'm setting to those equal to 0. And you should have it. No, and then you have to set it to those equal to 0. That's your final solution. Final, yeah.
Oh,
So now, this last part, you guys. So then this is factorable. Want to multiply to get 10, add to get 11. So 10 and 1. And then I set each of those equal to 0. So I get negative 10 and negative 1. And then we want to double check that doesn't make either of those denominators equal 0.
Forgot to do that. But
It's okay, they didn't, so. Why don't you guys grab your notes from yesterday? We're gonna look at the graphs. If you have them. And I did forget to write that our test is tomorrow. Thank goodness it wasn't today.
This test is tomorrow.
But you guys, it is, I already counted up the points and stuff for it. It is a smaller test. It's only the 4 sections.
only.
Or 4 sections, not 4 sections. Oh my gosh, that's so bad though, because then if you get one wrong, then 4
Okay.
4 easy questions. Okay, so we're gonna flip over to the graphing. And then I do have some more practice problems for you guys just to make sure I know what I'm doing. You lost it? Oh my goodness. I don't know if
Imagine.
I might, oh, I have 2. You guys are lucky.
I literally, I've done.
And then you forgot we had ACT? Or, yeah. Okay, so now we're graphing, and this again is where we want to set up our vertical asymptote, horizontal, x-intercept, y-intercept.
What? Oh, she's freaking out.
And like I said, on the test, I'll have these blanks for you so that you guys know that you need to do those things. Maybe that'll jog your memory.
Or
Yeah, it sounds like blood. I do, it's not, it's a stubborn piece.
Vaha.
Okay. So the vertical asymptote, remember, is where the bottom equals 0. So it's going to be x is 2. So x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 2 is going to be my vertical asymptote. So that's here. I thought you were talking to me at first. I'm like, what am I supposed to go back to?
I thought you were talking to her too. I was like,
I'm like, I dragged it down like an inch. Like, okay, then the horizontal asymptote. So there's the 2 different types here. Remember, when the denominator, the exponent on the variable is bigger than the top, and since there's no variable on the top, that's the case, this is where just y equals 0. So anytime there's more variables on the bottom than the top, it's just y equals 0.
If the bottom equals 0, would it be down to
What's that?
the bottom? If you say equal to
No, so it's at the bottom equal
Oh,
to
yeah.
0, yeah, and then I move the 2 over, right?
Anytime
What?
there's
Anytime there's more variables on the bottom than the top, then it's y equals 0. So more variables on the bottom than the top, it's just automatically y equals 0 is our other asymptote. So the asymptote going right through the axis there. And remember, the x-intercepts and y-intercepts are just kind of nice points. They're helpful. The x-intercept in this case is where y equals 0. That's where the top equals 0. And there isn't one in this case. Because 3 can't equal 0. Then I want to, for the y-intercept, I want to see what happens when x is 0. So I'm going to put 0 in for my x. So this is going to be 3 over negative 2, so it's a negative 1.5. So that's where my point is going to be, and so that's going to kind of tell me what this graph is already going to kind of look like. So my point is at 0, negative 1.5. So I know already this lower left corner looks like that. And I don't need a bunch of points there. You don't need to tell me like 8 different points and get this really, it's like slight curve. I'm fine with just a sketch there. As long as you don't sketch some sort of crazy curve there.
Straight.
So then I want to check what's happening. So I check, that's this side of this line I basically tested. Now I want to test on this side. So pick something for me to test.
4.
4. So that's on this side.
Exactly, you
Oh my
said.
gosh. So x is 4 we're going to test. And we have to put it back in the original problem. So 3 over 4 minus 2. So 3 over 2, so that's 1.5. So at 4, we're at 1.5. So we're right here. So that means my graph is going to look like that.
Perfect.
Okay? And again, that's as detailed as we need it to be.
Your track.
Oh, just a quick reminder, if I need to see you Friday, it could be because of missing work or just that your grade's kind of hovering at the kind of a rough level.
Yeah, that's me.
I will call you in virtually. If they need to see you in person, they would email you and let you know that. I'm going to have a Google Meet set up. If you're doing fine, then you shouldn't hear from me.
Come here, please.
Okay. So, bottom equals 0. So x minus 4 equals 0. So x equals 4 is my vertical asymptote. Horizontal asymptote. Now this time, the x's, there's the same number of x's on the top and the bottom. Do you guys remember what I look at then?
Whatever's on front.
In front of the x. So we're looking at the coefficients.
Yeah, that.
So what's the coefficient in front of the x on top? Negative 1. And then on the bottom, 1. So the horizontal asymptote is going to be at negative 1. Because of those coefficients. So that's the other type that we'll encounter. There's probably going to be one of each kind. The x-intercept is where I set the top equal to 0. So I'm going to move this x over. So x is 2. So that's going to be 2, 0 is my x-intercept. 2, 0. Now if I want to, I guess I'm going to tell you to figure out the y-intercept, that's when x equals 0, but I kind of already know about what it should be. It should be about negative half when I put that in there. And that actually happens to be what it is. So our graph actually makes sense there then. But that means I only know what's happening on the one side. So again, I have to check the other side. Now we can't use 4 because 4 is the line. So something beyond that's like 5. Sure, we can use 5, it's fine. We don't always have to go by your suggestion.
Oh.
It wasn't
I
supposed to be.
suggest once the whole class.
I thought you picked 4 before.
He did.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. So 5, negative 3.
I feel like 6 might
Oh.
Oh, wait.
So then there's our other half.
What was that,
And
Kinsey?
real quick, I know I had a student ask, will they always be opposite each other? Not always. So I'm just going to warn you that that's not always the case. A lot of times it is, but don't count on it always being opposite. That's a big clue.
What's a clue that it won't be opposite on this test?
Okay? All right. So let me list your homework for you guys. I found some review problems that
It's not like plastic.
Oh,
Right, plastic is.
Oh yeah, because it's projected. It's not actually.
All right, so in the back of your book, there's a little practice test. Good thing I just noticed that in the last chapter of the year. This little practice test questions, page 920, and then there's like 7 questions there, 5, 7, 11, 15, 17, 19, and 20. If you need more graph paper, you need 2 graphs. If you have room on the back side, otherwise I do have more if you need more graph paper. Yeah, there's only 2.
Thanks.
We know Garrett has graph paper.
Yep.
Yeah,
I need one.
yeah, that's right.
Tomorrow's gonna be my 1 year since I got my license.